Hello and welcome to another in our continuing series of previews of new features in the Luna release of the Eclipse CDO and Papyrus projects. Today we'll be looking at remote administration of your Papyrus model repositories. So to do that, we start with a view that we haven't used before in the Papyrus context. That is the CDO administration view. So here we can connect to a repository server. And we find there is a repository in there called admin. Now this is a repository that serves to manage information about the repositories that are instantiated in the server. Among other things, it also provides for administrative authorization of repository management functions on the server. Sort of a server-wide administrator role. So, we're not interested in using this repository for storing our models. So let's create a new one. We'll create a repository, we'll call it models. We'll take the default options. We want to support auditing, maintaining versions, branching, which isn't something that we really have the tooling yet to make full use of. And store-side ID generation, various nitty-gritty CDO details. One of the keys is we do want to enable a security manager to establish user accounts, roles, permissions, things that to constrain the activity of users in our repository. And for the H2 database in particular, we need to indicate where on the server's file system this thing should live. So we'll give it a store path. We'll hit finish. Now this is the administrator that we need to authenticate as on the admin repository in order to complete the operation. So there we are. A new repository has appeared in the administration view, and we're prompted now that we seem to have a new repository available, we're prompted to add it to the model repositories view. So let's do that. So nothing really interesting to do with that yet, because so far this repository has only the security model instantiated that so far has only one user, which is the administrator. So let's work on that. So again, we need to log in because now we're creating a new session on this repository. So this is something new in this milestone of CDO, a relatively user-friendly editor for managing the security model. So let's create a new user. We'll give it our name on the user ID, name, fill in these details. Not all of these, of course, are required. That's all good. So we have a user. Let's add this user to the users group, of course, because we are a user. So here we see that now my user is in the users group. So let's save that and exit. Now we are ready to connect as this new user. So let's do that. Now initially a new user doesn't have a password. So the first thing I should do is set one. So I don't have currently a password. I'll make a new password. And that looks good. Okay, so we're done. Just to make sure that it works, let's disconnect that and connect again. Now we are required to enter our credentials. And let's remember that for next time. Good. So, being a user in a repository that has the home folder handler, the commit handler for the home folder, I have my own folder in which to create my own models. So I can do that. Create a new model. Just, call it model. That's fine. Create a class diagram. Hit finish. And a bunch of plugins load and other initialization steps happen. That's good. So I can create a class. The usual modeling activities. All good. I cannot create a model in another user's home directory. I can't create models in other directories that I don't have access to. I can create folders in my own directories, my own folders. Right? So something like that, that works. It's all good. So that is creating a new repository, configuring some user permissions, creating users, roles, that sort of thing, using the repository, and now let's delete our repository. So let's go here, delete. So, dire warning that this is a fairly disruptive operation for anybody that might be using this repository. Sure. Again, I need to log in as the server administrator to complete this action. Now, silly me, I do have a connection open on this repository, of course. Some other users connected on other machines might also have sessions open and working with this repository. So, just to double check, am I sure I want to disrupt all those activities? Sure, let's go delete it. So, I am prompted because this repository has now been removed. I happen to do it myself, but it might have been an administrator from some other machine that did this. I'm prompted to remove this repository
from the view.
As it's been deleted, I may as well. Let's do that. And there we are. That is creating, using, deleting repositories on your Papyrus model repository server. Thank you.